So my friend had a cancer scare just before Christmas, a week or so before, and I really, really struggled with it. There were 4 days from when I found out that she had a lump in her armpit or under her armpit. It was hurting, it was growing surprisingly quickly, and she didn't know what it was. The doctors didn't know what it was. They wanted her to get an ultrasound as soon as possible, and I went to the ultrasound clinic. I went with her and helped her out, and it was just a support person there for her. She was asking the technician lots of questions. The doctor the day after wanted to see her in person. She wouldn't talk about the results over the phone, and so my friend had to go in, and that entire event, that incident happened over 4 days, and that was really, really exhausting and tiring because we had no idea what it was, and the doctors all seemed so vague and so sketchy, and all we could do is think about all the options of what it could be, and thinking about the best case scenario, thinking about the worst case scenario, and just having to deal with uncertainty. Thankfully, it was only some kind of infection, and she would need antibiotics for a couple of weeks, and then it would be gone. And she was pretty angry at the doctor for not discussing things over the phone, and just angry, I guess, that people were vague, but that's just what they do because they don't want to misdiagnose, and it's more important that you wait a bit longer to know the results as opposed to, getting one answer and then finding out later on that it's something worse or it's something different. But it was just really terrifying, and we were just so happy that she was okay, that it wasn't cancer. And so I'm just so happy that my friend doesn't have cancer, for her, most importantly for her, and the way that it would affect her life. But I am also really happy and glad that she doesn't have cancer for the effect it would also have on me, as bad as maybe that sounds. But I am just really, really happy because I don't think I've recovered enough to be the kind of support that I'd want to be for someone who's going through it. Even in those 4 days when I was helping her and, the possibility of cancer was on the table, I felt so exhausted in that time. I found myself crying when I didn't really know why I was crying. I was just feeling really down, and I was already heading down, but, finding out about this and just toying with the idea that she could have cancer and she might need to do chemotherapy and all these things, it just really, really brought me down, and I really struggled with it. And so it made me think about what I would do if she really did get cancer and how much support I could give. And I would think that I would be there for her 100% and supporting her in every way that I could. But I realized that I would need to put boundaries, and that would affect me. I would feel really, really awful for putting up those boundaries because I would want to help her as much as I could. But, if you can't help yourself, and if you're feeling really low and you're not taking care of yourself, you really can't help other people. And I don't think I'd really thought about it so concretely or so deeply, the limits to my support for a family member or a friend who might have to go through cancer. And the chances are that I will have someone who's really close to me, who I see all the time, or a family member who will go through cancer. And I've had family members, but often they've been, far away. They might be in Spain, so I'm not really interacting with them day to day. And that still is hard, but it's different when it's someone that you might see regularly. And so, you really do want to continue that kind of regular support and that regular in-person support. But when they're going through cancer, that can bring up a lot of feelings and memories and all these kinds of things that you just don't want to have to revisit because maybe you're still in recovery. And while I'm 2 years out, I guess I'm still recovering in ways that I didn't think about it. And it wasn't until I was in that awful state of unknowing with her, thinking about diagnosis and thinking about whether or not she had cancer, did it really bring up all those feelings again in a way that I hadn't had for a long time. And I just really hated that feeling. I hated that feeling of not knowing, of waiting around. And I felt like so much of my cancer and treatment experience was just putting so much mental energy in trying not to think about the worst case scenario, and also not trying to hold on to the best case scenario. I was just using so much energy to be okay with the uncertainty of it all and of just waiting around. And it's so exhausting waiting and trying to wait in a healthy way. And so I had to use a lot of energy in those 4 days when I was with her to just talk about and think about it's okay. It's okay that we don't know, and it's okay that we're waiting. But as I said, that just takes up so much energy. And I know part of the issue was that I was her only support in those 4 days because we didn't know if it was cancer, and she didn't want to worry anyone if it wasn't cancer. And so I understand that, and thankfully it wasn't, so we didn't have to worry anyone. But that was really exhausting, being the only support for her. So I know if she'd had other supports, I probably wouldn't have felt so drained in those times either. So I really want to hear your experiences and thoughts on this. Have you experienced cancer or some kind of trauma, and then a friend or a family member have gone through the same thing? And what feelings did you feel? Like, how did you go about helping that person out? How did you go about taking care of yourself in that event? Because I think it's really hard, and I feel like survivors or people who have gone through certain traumas really, really struggle to be supportive of others who are going through the same thing, because they really want to, but sometimes they actually can't. They still need more time to recover, or there are just limits to their help, because if not, they're just, really harming themselves in the process. And I just think that's such an awful, awful position to be in, especially when you want to help people. I just think the guilt can be overwhelming. I know, at least for me, even for that little event, and it was only a cancer scare, I still feel so bad thinking about myself in that process. And I also feel bad in many ways talking and making this video now, but I also think that's why I should make it, because I don't think we should feel guilty or selfish for thinking about the effect it would have on us. But I feel guilty. I feel really, really guilty. So please leave your comments down below. Thanks for watching this video, and I'll see you in the next one. Okay, bye.